And despite continued technological advances, Americans' emergency alert infrastructure is oftentimes a step or two behind the forces of Mother Nature, which can lead to deadly consequences. So repeated flash flood warnings were issued in the lead up to the fatal floods in central Texas. But as the rain moved in and the water began to surge, the people who needed to see those messages the most weren't able to be reached. And that was due to a lack of cell service or simply not having their phones with them at the time. And without any outdoor sirens to give them a heads up, otherwise, tragedy became inevitable. Joining us now to talk more about this is incident response meteorologist for the University of Texas's Office of Security and Emergency Management, Troy Kimmel. Troy, thank you so much for your voice today.
Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, for the invitation.
So hindsight's always 20/20. Flash flooding implies this all happens rather quickly, but at the same time, you have all these young girls sleeping right next to the Guadalupe River, a very similar incident happening nearly 40 years ago. Were further warnings possible in a scenario like this? And if so, where did things go wrong here?
Well, I think there's going to be plenty of time to look at that, Kelly. One thing that I want to stress, and I'm working with our group TXR, which is Texas Search and Rescue, a complete volunteer organization in the state trying to get people out. We're still in recovery mode. Xavier pointed this out just a couple of moments ago that we've got lots of people, to families, to offer closure to at this point, and that's the most important thing. But your question is a good one. One thing that I can tell you that I believe as a meteorologist is that the National Weather Service, Austin, San Antonio, and Kelly, you kind of indicated this, we think they did their job admirably. They did what they had to do. But the real question that you're trying to get to, and it's one that we better look at as a society, is once they hit that button down at the office in Austin, San Antonio, at the National Weather Service, or any other of the 122 offices across the U.S., does that information get to the public? And sometimes it's a little slow. We were in the middle of the night, Kelly, with this event. That is another issue. We were going into a federal holiday. We were in a federal holiday. All these are going to end up being factors at this point. And I think that one of the most important things that we remember, Kelly, I had someone yesterday in an interview say something to me like, well, I hope this never happens again. And I kind of had to pull back on that a little bit. And I want to remind everyone, no matter where you are in this country, hope is not a plan. And I think, Kelly, this is what you're trying to say. We've got to have a plan on the local level, the state level. I'll tell you, our friends at the Texas Division of Emergency Management, they're some of my closest friends, and they do an admirable job at state level. But we've got to make sure this gets down to the people. That's where it really makes a difference. I think we're going to find out what went right with all this, and we're going to find out what went wrong with this. But obviously there is a problem. There was a problem in communications that you could probably run off in 3 or 4 different directions and attribute that to, Kelly, not the least of which this was in the middle of the night and most people were asleep.
Right. And, and you don't want to attribute any ill will. Certainly just want to ask those tough questions because, it's really hard to wrap your mind around how this could happen twice and be so devastating both times. Just today, the Wall Street Journal wrote an article. Well, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, and it said this in part, that a local agency that helps manage the Guadalupe River was in the process of setting up a software program to help Kerr County officials better assess flood threats 3 months before. That was according to public records. Do you think a system like this could have been the difference maker?
Well, everything, Kelly, in a way, could be a difference maker. We've got to look and see how these WIA alerts, which are part of these, Kelly, they're part of these devices that we all have. Did people turn those off? Maybe they were tired of getting alerts. That's called warning fatigue, and we have to look at that. But we've got to get the information to the public. And more importantly, Kelly, I think it's so important to realize that every person along that Guadalupe that we're looking at now, and we're looking at this area, you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a plan, a family plan. You've got to exercise that plan. And you've got to get out there and know that when the rubber meets the road in these severe weather events, that you can make it work and we can save lives. I will tell you, Kelly, the people that hit the button for the flash flood warnings at the Austin San Antonio office are all friends of mine. They're close friends. And that office is devastated now, Kelly.
Yeah.
As meteorologists, we're devastated. I've gone through in the last couple of days shocked. I've been angry. I've been sad. And now we're getting to the point where we're getting closer to your point. We need some answers, and it will come with time. I want these families to have some closure in Texas, and let's make that happen. And then we get on the other side. Let's have an honest and what may end up being kind of a tough discussion in Texas.
Yeah. You know, there was a separate conversation about these sirens, that there was some reluctance to spend the money.
Right.
So, you know, that's another conversation to have as well. But a lot has been made also about these recent cuts, specifically to the National Weather Service. You have President Trump saying that they didn't make an impact here, that they, you know, it wasn't a problem. But then the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, calling for an investigation now. Based on your experience, do you believe those moves had any ties to the outcome we're seeing unfolding before our eyes?
Kelly, it's an excellent question. I will disagree with the senator to some degree that it had effect. I will tell you, the office was staffed to 5 people during the night, Thursday night, Friday morning, the National Weather Service, Austin, San Antonio. One thing that we find, Kelly, and people need to understand, the National Weather Service is a great agency. It's not a huge agency, but they protect us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year against atmospheric hazards. And they may be short-staffed, and we are a little short-staffed in the office down here, but they surge staff that night, Kelly, and got the people in. That means that they went above and beyond and got the job done in light of even the cuts that we'd end up seeing. My biggest concern, Kelly, in the months ahead, we can't have this happening next week and next week and next week. We can't have it happen again, or we're going to burn out the men and women of the National Weather Service, where they're trying to do their best every day for us.
Yeah, and if you had said, Kimmel, you know, or Troy, excuse me, there have been so many good people working during, after, before this event. There's no doubt about that. I'm curious, though, when do you believe, Troy, we'll have a clear picture about the warnings that went out, who received them, and their effectiveness overall?
That's a tough one, Kelly, to some degree, knowing some of the people down there that are searching for people. It's going to take a bit. I think I really believe we've got to put this closure in there for families. And the closure, by the way, there's nothing good about it. We're not going to find anyone. We don't think the people down there, I just don't think we'll find anyone alive at this point. But we've got to do that to closure in the families. But I believe we're all ready, Kelly, because of some of the questions that you've asked and your colleagues have asked and other journalists have asked. I think we're beginning to get an idea. But instead of hopping on that immediately, let's take it, let's discuss it, and let's figure out how we can make things better. And I think that's exactly what you've pointed out. I want to make things better in the future. As a civilized society here in the United States, we cannot be killing 100, 200 people in flash floods here in this country.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that's a message and a mission we can all get behind. Troy Kimmel, what a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Kelly, it's been nice to be here with you. It's just a sad day here. So.
Yeah, it's been a sad few days. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.